And it says live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to the first Google Educator Group Washington Hangout on Air. I'm Justin Talmadge, and I'm one of the moderators of GEG Washington. I'm here today with Cheryl Steighner. Say hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
As well as Kimberly Allison.
Hello.
And we are here today to talk briefly about two events that Cheryl and Kimberly attended. Cheryl attended the recent Google Teacher Academy down in Mountain View, I believe.
Yep.
And Kimberly attended a Google Apps for Education Summit. So they're going to talk about their experience at those two events. And if anybody who's watching has a question, I believe that the Q&A app is enabled. You should be able to just post your questions, and throughout while we're talking, and then at the end of our talk, we'll look at the questions and see if there's any that we can answer. So I will let Cheryl take it away. The Google Teacher Academy. What did you learn? What was it like, Cheryl?
Well, the Google Teacher Academy in Mountain View was just an amazing experience. There were about 60 of us, 65 of us from all around North America. And we gathered in Mountain View at the Google headquarters, and we spent 2 days in intense learning sessions, and we kind of focused on the qualities that make a Google certified teacher. Mm-hmm. And we also spent some time thinking about how to make big impacts in our communities. And some of the things that I really liked about the Google Teacher Academy were just meeting tons of people from around the country that think just like you do, kind of random big thoughts, and also just getting to work with those people and learn their stories and kind of collaborate with them. And I see my friend Simon just joined us.
Yes, I was just going to say, so Simon Miller has joined us, and Simon also attended the Google Teacher Academy in Mountain View. Is that right?
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, welcome. So Cheryl was just talking about that experience. And Cheryl, this was something you had to apply to be able to attend. Is that right?
Yeah, there's an application process that comes out a couple weeks before the academies, and they happen pretty frequently. Maybe 1 or 2 a year. Mm-hmm. So I applied in June or May, and this was my second time applying for the academy. So if you don't get in the first time, I would encourage you to keep applying.
Simon, what would you like to add to about the Google Teacher Academy?
I feel like I'm still decompressing. I still feel like I have to go back and look at things that happened that we either tweeted or that we took notes on. In fact, I just logged into one of the accounts we used, and I had to go back and look at the slide decks, and I'm still learning, because it happened. It was so intense, and you're not only meeting wonderful people, but you're also learning wonderful content, and it's almost too much in a good way.
Yeah.
Right. So it's 2 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are some of the things that you took away from it in terms of learning for you?
Learning for me, one of the things I really took away from it was friendly competitive activities are really awesome, and it really emphasized to me how powerful collaborating is with other people, and being okay with not, like in some of the activities we did, we just totally failed. I mean, we were trying to build a tower, or we're trying to solve a puzzle, and failing when it's not detrimental, it's fun. I mean, just figuring things out that way and not being afraid of getting it wrong, per se, is a really valuable lesson for teachers, because it can really change the way you approach your class. And so I thought that was pretty fun.
I love that concept of sort of failing up, right? Fail often, fail early.
Right.
Yeah.
My wife hates that about me, because when it comes to house projects, you don't really want to fail often. But when it comes to the classroom and working with kids, it's absolutely a great thing. And does Google sort of promote that idea as well, sort of as a company value?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I've seen some videos of that. Haven't they showed some videos of failing up? You know, like in a bunch of stuff they've done that just failed, then they would learn from it. So.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Cheryl, to what Simon has said?
No, I agree. The meeting people from around North America was just a great experience, and we did so many things in such a short amount of time. It's just too much to kind of think about all at once. But you know, it was a very inspiring experience for me, and you know, has really helped me think about how I can impact my community in the future. So.
Awesome. So I do notice that we have two viewers. Actually, now it's down to one. But this, oh, we're back to two. So those people that are viewing this Hangout on Air live, please use the Q&A.
Yeah.
If you go to the events page, which I posted in the Google Educator Group Washington community on Google+, you should be able to ask a question. And we'll get to those questions, absolutely. So thank you for watching those two viewers. I don't know who they are, but there's somebody from the group, I'm sure. Kimberly, did you have any questions for Cheryl and Simon about the Google Teacher Academy?
I do, actually, and I would like them both maybe to speak to that application process, because I know, like, we had a few teachers who applied, and of course they're not with us today, which means they didn't get in, and I know that they have all those questions about just what is, you know, that video makes them a little nervous, the like, what's the right way to kind of tackle that, and so it'd just be interesting to hear kind of how you guys approach that.
Cheryl, take it away.
Okay.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, the first time I applied, you know, I'd spent some time on my application, but when I didn't get in, I wanted to use it as an opportunity to kind of move forward. So I looked, the second time I was applying, I thought, okay, I'm going to really look critically at my video and, you know, my short answers and go from there. And so I was really reflective in that process, and I think that really helped. You're limited to, you know, 800 characters for your short answer, and only
including spaces, right?
Yeah, including spaces, and only 1 minute for your video. So you really have to be careful in what words you choose, and think about. You know, you have to be really intentional about what's your message. And, you know, for me, I really wanted to show how I reflect the same qualities of a Google certified teacher. So that's kind of my approach. Yeah, so.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about your video, Cheryl?
I chose, or the theme was, how do we impact our community and be innovative in our classrooms. And so I wanted to show how I don't just use my own classroom, like physical classroom. I flatten the classroom walls, you know, by connecting my students with other kids around the world. You know, we go out into our garden and use that as our lessons. I use my learning through my blog or on Twitter and through other organizations. I use that to connect and make my practice better. And so I wanted to kind of take that spin on it. So that's kind of how I approached my video. Yeah.
Cool. Simon, what about you?
You know, I was listening because I got to spend a couple days with Cheryl. I was listening actively while I was taking a few notes here, getting some ideas from what she was saying. And I go back to Google Teacher Academy Chicago, and I used to follow that hashtag. And you know, being on Twitter, I am starting to really connect with Google Plus more, but being on Twitter really gave me like this pipeline of direct access to people. And so I immediately found kind of these people tweeting about this GTA CHI, and I knew what the Teacher Academy was, but I was getting so much more from that I was going and watching their videos about it last summer. I was watching some of the winning or the awardees, and I was watching their videos, and you know, I really focused in on a couple that weren't super flashy. I looked at videos and I went, I could do that, and why did I like that? And it was because they really stayed true to what the questions were, the focus, but they were well done. And so that's what I first did, was I connected with a couple people, and one of them was Chris Cowder, I think that's how you say his last name, and he's from the East Coast. And I reached out to him on Twitter, and I said, I saw you were at Google Teacher Academy. I really liked your video because it was simple, but it was really good. And he said, yeah, here, look at what the questions ask, and that really helped me, because looking at some of these videos can really overwhelm you.
Yeah, right.
Because some of these people are incredible cinematographers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't get hung up on that. I mean, those are great, but look at where you're at and find good examples of how those are applicable to you, and then just make your video. Because I think people try to one-up one another sometimes with either effects or what's the theme this year, is it, so don't get too caught up in that. And Twitter really was monumental. It has the last 18 months for me of Twitter have just been incredible in connecting with people.
Hey, Simon and Cheryl, so there's one person who's watching. Her name is Catherine Livick, and her question is, she would like to hear more about what you guys did for the videos. So I'm thinking, like, what tool did you use, for example?
Okay.
And then did you just do a screencast? I mean, was that what was easy? And it was just you sort of talking, or did you put in photos of the work you've done with kids? I mean, talk more about the actual video itself, that 1 minute that you chose to include. That's really hard when it comes to video, to just have it be 1 minute.
Cheryl, go ahead.
I used just plain old iMovie, and I wanted to, I did a mix of videos from my classroom that I had taken over the last 2 years, and also photos. And then I wrote a script, and I just kind of made it all put together, and I wanted to really capture my own personality, so I tried to make it as informal as possible. But at the same time, really reflect who I was as an educator and show what my classroom is like. I can post the link to that. It's on YouTube, probably in the group at some point. So, yeah.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a huge video maker person, so for me, just using iMovie, something I was familiar with, and was fine. And it's really true to who I am. So
nice.
I would echo that.
What did you use to create yours?
I did use to do the finalizing and inserting some graphics and things like that. I did use iMovie. I find it to be pretty intuitive. What I did as far as the logistics of some of the camera stuff was I had a coworker a storyboard, and then I used an actual kind of like a whiteboard for my cue card. Because I did a little bit of intro, because I wanted people to see. I didn't want it to all be me or all be a talking head, but I wanted a little bit of it to kind of set a context. And I kind of went off Google Maps theme, so I zoomed in from Google Earth. But what I did was I held my phone, because I felt it was part of who I am. My phone is a big part of using a digital tool, and I had the mic on, so that was my cheap kind of a hack to get good sound when I was outside. So I was recording my voice, and then the person on the camera was taking video, and then I just used the sound file from that and synced it up. So then it sounded like almost like I had a boom mic. I kind of cheated. Other than that, it was just kind of a lot of piecing things together and trimming, and I mean, I had to cut out so much. I had to really narrow it down to the essence, because
Simon, are you a classroom teacher as well?
I was a classroom teacher. I'm now a technology leader. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not in the classroom right now.
What would you say, both of you, was the makeup of the 60 folks that were there, in terms of teachers, people who are TOSAs, people who are maybe administrators? What was that breakout like?
I feel like it was pretty varied. There was a good mix of classroom teachers, and also a good mix between elementary, middle, and high school teachers. And there were some district admins there, and a lot of, TOSA type people, I feel.
Great.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too. There was a good mix.
Well, let's move on to from the Google Teacher Academy to the Google Apps for Education Summit. There are two distinct sort of organizations. And Kimberly, Allison went to a summit also in California, right, Kimberly?
Yeah, it was actually in Palo Alto at a high school that is just down the street, actually, from Mountain View. So I went over with a friend one night to the campus and walked around and got to see the bicycles. So that was exciting.
What is the main difference, you think, from a Google Teacher Academy to a Google Apps for Education Summit?
Well, I think, what they just described is you do an application process, then you have this 2-day intensive group experience that's very much, I'm paraphrasing, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
that's really about moving folks forward in that capacity. The summits, the Google EDU summits, whatever they're calling themselves now, happen, throughout the country and around the world. This organization, it's made up of a variety of previously Google certified teachers who were really smart early on and realized they could have a business doing this, and they do these 2-day. With some additional workshops if you want prior, but the bulk of it is just on a Saturday and Sunday, and they host them in high schools that are more like a traditional conference. You pay your money. There was no application process. I took a team of 9 people from my district. Well, there's 10 of us total, and we had administrators among us as well as classroom teachers. And then we went to breakout sessions. And you can imagine the whole variety of what's available. There were each day started with a keynote, and because the one we went to was in Palo Alto, they're able to pull a lot of actual Google people for those types of events. So our keynote the first day was, I can't remember her name now, I should look it up, but she heads she works in the X Labs that Google has, which is where they do all their crazy stuff that may or may not ever make it to market, but she heads up the driverless car team. So, talking about that idea, a little bit about what Simon was talking about earlier, this idea of failing and failing often, but like moving forward and having really grandiose ideas. So it's a nice mix of sort of thinking about, what could we do to change the world with technology and things like that, and kind of that atmosphere because everybody's all excited. But at the
one of my favorite things, Kimberly, that to come out of the Google X team is Project Loon.
Yes.
Where they put these balloons, these air balloons with some sort of internet capability,
sure,
and they float them over a certain latitude of the Earth to provide developing nations with high-speed internet access, which of course is a boon for Google, because that's where Google wants everybody connected so they can take advantage of Google products and services. But at the same time, it's providing a service at next to zero cost for
absolutely. Right, and the gentleman who headed up Loon was actually the keynote speaker last year when I went.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just so you get that, but then you also get, so then it's just breakout sessions, and people choose what to go to. And as I was explaining to Cheryl before we started, you have the whole range of introduction to Google Drive for folks who are truly newbies. And then, all the way up to Andrew Stillman was actually there, who is one of my personal heroes. And
as a genius.
he writes script and add-ons in New York. And I was like, he's here, I can't believe it. I was like, I just want to go up. And I kind of fell at his feet. And we've connected on Google Plus, and I introduced myself. He goes, we've communicated, like, you remember. But no, I just think when he does it. But so you get that whole range. That type of class would not have been necessarily appropriate for somebody really new to Google Plus. Right. And then the size is very different as well. There were about 800 participants, I think.
Oh, wow.
Oh, actually, maybe this year was 1,200, and it was 800 last year. So, and this is one of their larger ones. They're typically, I guess, not that large. So
it sounds like anybody that has an interest, so maybe you're a district that has adopted Google Apps for Education, and you can bring in this group. I think it's called the EdTech team. I think they're the organization that facilitates these summits. So somebody could go to edtechteam.com and fill out some sort of contact form and say, hey, we're interested in hosting.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you saw I think you're on the Tech TOSA email list, Justin. This morning, Lori sent out that she's actually kind of in contact and negotiations right now about maybe bringing it to the Pacific Northwest. So I'm crossing my fingers, because it would be awesome to be able to take, to make it more affordable to be able to take more people.
That would be something that I was just going to say. That's something that with these GEGs, and Justin, I'm glad you're really igniting a lot of this stuff, because I think that it especially for North Idaho, which is where I'm from. I was just talking with Cheryl while we were visiting that I go to Tacoma all the time because we have relatives there. But we're geographically very unique in the fact that Washington, Oregon, and North Idaho, we really share a lot of things in common. But up until now, we haven't done a whole bunch of things collaboratively, and to have like a Google Summit in even Seattle or anywhere in our region, I would go to that in a heartbeat.
Right.
Another thing to add to that too, to Kimberly's description, is we're doing on a little bit smaller scale. We're doing some more informal. We call them Google festivals, and those are not from a tech team. You can kind of do those informally in kind of maybe somewhat of a smaller offering. So we did a North Idaho Google Apps for Education Festival, one day, not as expensive, a little bit shorter time frame, but those are options too.
That's great. That's a great idea. There's something that you just said that made me think about the difference between these two events and the hosting of them. It'll come back to me. Sorry, forgot.
So we now have 4 viewers. So for those that are watching,
hey, all right.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's up to 5. Wow, we can't stop now. We gotta keep going. Up to 6. Oh my gosh. So if people have questions, please, the Q&A app on the event page, which is linked in the GEG Washington community on Google+. If you click on that event link, you can type your questions in, and we're just going to hang on here for a few more minutes. I'd like to wrap it up in the next 2 to 3 minutes, but if you have a question, go ahead and post it, and we'll get them answered. So Simon, back to you about the festival. Was that just something that you had organized yourself, or was that through EdTech team, or what?
What I did was I had been collaborating with some folks on Twitter, and then in some other areas. That's where the initial connection was made, though. And then I just kind of reached out to some people that I had looked, and I said, hey, you guys did a Google Festival. Can you tell me what that is, what it looks like, and how do I, put one on in my area? And I mean, in a matter of 6 months, we had a couple hangouts like this, and for 3 of them, it was the first time I met them face to face, was on site in North Idaho, which was their first time being there. It was kind of this weird, surreal, oh, hey, nice to meet you face to face. Now let's go put on this whole day thing. It was a little bit of a stretch for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is all going to, I woke up that morning going, is this going to even work? And it was incredible. So basically I just kind of made some connections via Twitter, and then, regionally, because it was some Oregon folks and some California folks, and they flew up, and I think one was Dave Childers. It's part of his new business, doing these. But he's so flexible that, we said, hey, we might have 50, we might have 150. Is that a problem? And getting that going, at least for the first time, it wasn't. We just said, let's make it happen, and then we'll grow it from there. So just getting in touch with the right people, and don't be, you just can't wait to ask. Where can we do a Google Summit Northwest? Something.
Did you do that on a weekend? Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just saying it sounds like we're having a little bit of Wi-Fi issues on Simon's end, I think.
Maybe, yeah, because I'm tethered to my phone. So.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's impressive that we're even able to do this. Kimberly, what was your question again?
I was wondering if you hosted your festival on a weekend, or did you do it during a weekday?
It was originally supposed, what we did was we were trying to design it on a teacher workday for our region. We thought that would really increase attendance. But then there was a whole bunch of basketball games and tournaments happening at that time, so we switched it to a Saturday. So that kind of, that paradigm shift of go to something on my day off, that was a thought shift for a lot of people. So we think that hurt our attendance a little bit, but we wanted to get it established. So going forward, we don't know what that will look like.
Right. No, and it's great, I think, to have that focus of the festival or like the 2-day summit. And that was the thing that I was thinking of earlier. I go in my capacity, and Justin, you certainly have done this too. We go to, NCCE, we've maybe gone to ISTE, all of those things, and they are, I've gotten to the point where I don't feel like I pull that much from those anymore because they're kind of all over the place. Everything is really, it's like, yeah, I know about that thing or whatever. I don't feel like I'm getting to dive into anything, and that's what's so nice about the Google Summit. It's like so focused that even though there was this overwhelming number of choices, there's really only 10 choices. I mean, because, you know, like there's 16 different YouTube classes you could take, but like you'll be able to fit them in. It's not like there were no Twitter classes that you had to choose between, you know, so it was kind of that nice focus. I like that.
That's a great point. That's a good point.
Yeah, actually that is a great point. The idea of more focused professional development. And I feel like with both the Google Teacher Academy and the Summit, you're definitely going to get a focus. It's going to be a lot of things, you know, around the Google apps and services, but it is going to be focused on just that Google aspect. So for people that want to attend any of these events, I would assume they just need to search for Google Teacher Academy, and there's a few that are offered every year, and you have to apply. You got to make that video and a brief essay or something. And then the summit, it sounds like you need to look for events in your area. And if Kimberly, it sounds like Lori Curtis
she's working on it.
Be able to get one going here in the Northwest. So look for more information on that in the GEG on the GEG community page. I'd like to thank everybody for participating today. You guys all get a round of applause from all of our viewers. And we will see all of you in GEG Washington. Make sure you post there and reply, and we'll get some good discussion going. Thanks, everybody. See you.
Thanks, Justin.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.